Good evening, boys and girls, and welcome back to another episode of Press Break the Offseason, where we talk about anything and everything that doesn't matter in life. I'm joined again by my host, JT. JT, how we doing this week, man?
I'm doing good. Might die here soon though because it's officially summer, and I don't do good in any temperature above about 65 degrees. So I was sweating all day today, and you can definitely tell.
Oh, man. So the heat is in, and speaking of bringing the heat, we are I'm going to say blessed to be joined again by the Godfather, Jerry Nixon Jr. Welcome back to the offseason, bro.
What's up, boys? Thanks for having me again. I do apologize for the technical difficulties in the beginning. Don't buy cameras from China. You heard it here first. Don't buy cameras from China. Thanks for having me.
We're going to go around the circle again, and just like we start every Friday night, Freestyle Friday, I think is a good way to go. It Masters of alliteration on this show. I think we're really good at that. So we're going to call it Freestyle Friday. What are we sipping on tonight?
I'm going. I decided to join the club. Going with High Noons. Going with the peach, my favorite flavor. It's the go-to all summer long.
That's facts. That's facts. I have right now in this, I have a black cherry nooner, and then I have a mixed assortment bag of watermelon and grapefruit, which I'm not too fond on the grapefruit, but hopefully JT, I saw this week that Nooners is coming out with a new tropical pack that has mango and passion fruit in it. So I'm sure those will smack.
So I saw Barstool got those early, and the mango ones sound delicious. I'll drink anything mango.
Yeah, and I don't even – I mean, I know passion fruit's a fruit, but I really don't know what a passion fruit is, truthfully.
It's the thing with the little balls inside of it, isn't it? Like it's like a weird-looking –
That's a pomegranate. That's a pomegranate.
Well, I think they're in the same family. I think a passion fruit also has little liquid beads in it. It's like passion fruit, star fruit, guava. All of them are in like the same testicular family, if you will.
Oh, shit. All right. Yeah. Well, yeah, then I'm wrong. Fuck me.
I mean, hey, you keep getting black cherry nooners, it might happen, Big Daddy.
Facts, dude. Facts.
I am preparing for the first vineyard trip of the season, so I'm over here with a teeter-totter Cabernet Sauvignon. My wife and I are heading out to the wineries tomorrow, so I figure I got to get my tolerance back up because wine will hit you different.
Getting fancy.
I'm trying to be as bougie as possible because it makes for good ratings. But we are here to talk about what everyone else wants to talk about. So I threw away the script this afternoon, straight up. I printed it out. I looked at it. I said, you know what? We're not doing this tonight. This is for the people. So what do y'all want to talk about? I know one thing I want to get to, and it's a little bit of Celine Dion action, but we'll get there eventually. We'll get there. I know JT's got some topics. What do you got for us, bud?
First off, I wanted to get to Kwame Brown. The dude just continues to go off on the internet, and I love it. He's been like the butt of all jokes ever since Jordan drafted him number 1, and he's just coming at everybody's throats.
Can you like kind of fill me in? Like I've been seeing him on Twitter, and I know I watched some kind of video, but what is he on, like a podcast now, or like what's going on?
No, he's been pretty much just it's like he just realized that there's a go live feature on social media, and he's just clicked that go live button, and he's just aired all his grievances with anybody who he's ever had an issue with. One was Matt Barnes.
Yeah, so that was the start of it. So Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson have a podcast called All the Smoke. And during one of their episodes, they referred to him as a bust and referred to him as basically, everyone knows what a bust is, but they were basically taking some shots at him. And so then Steven Jackson came out and was like, he made a personal video and was like, yo, Kwame, like, just so you know, like, I wasn't coming at you. I really don't want no smoke with you. I was just, we're doing a podcast. And like JT said, Kwame finally decided or discovered that there was a live button. And so he's been going on anybody and everybody. So it started with Steven Jackson. Then Jamel Hill had something to say about him going at Steven Jackson. So then he went at Jamel Hill. Then he went at Stephen A. Smith. Then he went at Charlemagne the God. Because Charlemagne the God was like, Charlemagne the God on The Breakfast Club said something about how you can't go at Kwame because Kwame is going to come back with violence. And then they were like, well, what do you mean he's going to come back with violence? He's like, well, his daddy's been to prison. His brother's been to prison, blah, blah, blah. And Kwame was like, yo, first of all, my dad is not me. Second of all, that brother, I didn't even know I had until I was 25. So, like, he's like, you can't put what my family did on me. And he's just basically roasting. And the beautiful thing about it is everything he does is about an hour and a half long. He just keeps going and going. And he's dropping so many fact bombs. Like, he's just really real. And people forgot that about him.
The whole Matt Barnes thing with him talking about Chauncey Billups. Or no, not who was it Chauncey Billups? Is that who stole his girlfriend?
No, I think it was it Chauncey when Matt Barnes was playing with Detroit?
I can't remember, but there was some situation.
No, Derek Fisher. Derek Fisher,
yes. That's who it was. So he started making fun of Barnes because of Derek Fisher. It's appointment television. You got to tune in anytime he goes live.
Well, yeah. I look at it like this too. Like if Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, or if it was just Matt Barnes, if they really actually want to talk shit on somebody, I mean, to each their own. Like, that's fine. Say what you want to say, but then it kind of seems like then he just kind of backpedaled and was like, "Oh no, dude! Like, I'm sorry. I'm just doing it for the podcast." Like, could you imagine if everybody was like that, just talking shit on every single person, and then behind the scenes, just like backpedaling a little bit? Like, I also feel like too, if I'm gonna talk shit on somebody on a podcast that's recorded, regardless if like it was in the heat of the moment or not, you kind of have to ride that horse until you fall that horse off. You can't go backpedaling, because then somebody could just be like, well, how can you take anything that he says like 100% serious all the time?
That's the one thing with like the Stephen A. Smiths and the Skip Baylesses of the world. When they're wrong, they just put their feet in the ground and continue to go with it. So that's the one thing I've always respected about them a little bit, is that they're wrong on almost everything, but at least they stick with it and they're not completely backpedaling all the time.
Yeah, I think the ultimate sign of backpedaling is when you have a podcast called All the Smoke, and then you call out somebody and say, hey, just so you know, I don't want any smoke.
Yeah, you instantly lost all your credibility and need to change the name of your podcast.
It's just done. But I made a point the other day, and I just like afterwards started laughing about it. Is like, dude, if Kwame keeps this up, he's going to lead the NBA in jersey sales this year. Like, he is getting so much publicity and hits off this. It's crazy.
The one thing about the whole situation that I wanted to ask, sports related, was, I mean, he ended up playing, I believe he had a 14-year NBA career.
12.
So 12? Okay, I knew it was double digits. Like, he stuck around for a long time. Like, what do you guys consider a bust? Because Kwame went number one. The game kind of changed, and like his game didn't really work. And then he got stuck with Kobe for a while, which I love Kobe, but you weren't getting any shots up with him. So like he was just a rebounder, get like 4 to 5 points a game. Like, I think people are a little too hard on him, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like when I hear the term bust, somebody couldn't make it more than like 2 or 3 seasons. Like, if I know that some guys played on a team for 12 or 14 seasons, whatever you guys just said, it's like he might not be good enough to elevate his team or elevate play, but they obviously keep him on the team for some reason, whether it's, just pure wisdom or whatever it must be. Like, he must have some kind of asset to an organization. And I kind of just feel like, just listening, like, I picture like a Steve Novak. Like, Steve Novak played for the Knicks for however many years. He'd get in sometimes. He'd hit a big shot every now and again, but I wouldn't call him a bust either. So if I'm not going to call Novak a bust, I can't call him a bust either. I mean, fuck, he got paid for 12 years. What else do you want him to do? In my opinion, he plays the best role on any professional team. Get paid and don't play.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone that has a 12-year NBA career in the NBA, we're not talking about NBA Europe or NBA D-League as it was at the time, right? We're talking about he spent 12 years on a 12 to 15-man roster in the NBA. That's not a bust. But I think it opens up a bigger can of worms, because personally, and look, I'm a Jordan fan. Like, I love Michael Jordan. I love what he was for the game of basketball. You say, hey, you can only pick one GOAT. I'm taking Michael Jordan. But we got to stop protecting Michael Jordan. Like, this dude came right out of high school and went to the Wizards, where he was there with a washed up Michael Jordan and a washed up Jerry Stackhouse and Doug Collins. And there's a book about this. It's called The Jordan Rules. Certain things didn't apply to Michael Jordan. And I can't imagine what it would be like being a kid in high school, idolizing Michael Jordan, and then getting to the NBA and being drafted number one overall. Because Kwame Brown didn't go to college. He went straight to the pros because that's what you could do back then. And have my role model look me dead in the face and treat me like straight dog crap. Like, what position are you in at that point? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I bet my development was hindered. Like, if Michael Jordan's the one calling the shots, and Michael Jordan's getting his shots. Jerry Stackhouse is getting his shots. So he spent 3 to 5 years. I'm just going to use that as a range because I don't know the exact number, but he spent 3 to 5 years under Michael Jordan, Jerry Stackhouse, and Doug Collins doing whatever Michael told him to do, which most of the time was shut up and get out of my way, and then got traded to the Lakers with Kobe Bryant. Like, at what point are we developing this kid? So can you really say he busted if he wasn't given the opportunity and developed the right way? Like, when are we going to start putting onus on the people who drafted them? Right? I mean, would you say that Steve Carr, the quarterback extraordinaire that he was in college, was a bust because he went to an expansion organization and didn't have the tools and the weapons for the first 3 to 5 years, and because of that he couldn't produce, so he's a bust? Like,
I know what you mean, man. And like, I also, just to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying about Jordan, it also makes me wonder how many other players that could have been drafted to the Bulls or the Wizards that played with Jordan could have ended up having some relatively good and maybe long careers, but just because you got matched on this guy's team, where his goal, regardless if you had his jersey on or not, was to mentally tear you down. I mean, some people just don't have that mental wall that you can put up. I mean, and that's fine. Some people literally wear their hearts on their sleeves and just show their emotions all the time. So it kind of just, as a whole, makes me wonder, like, dang, wonder how many players were drafted and dished off and never had a good career just because of one sentence that Jordan might have said to somebody.
Yeah. And I think another thing to point out with Kwame Brown, too, is the position that he played. The dude was 7'1", 270 pounds. But he was a center. And that back in the day, when the game still had a true center. No true centers ever got along with Michael Jordan. And I'm not talking about on the court. I'm talking about personally. Like, Horace Grant is the most notable center that Michael Jordan ever played with. Wanted to beat his ass every single day that he had to share a facility with him. Mm-hmm. Like, just wanted to black his eye. So, like, when are we going to start looking at, like, what we're talking about, like, the other side of the coin here? It might not be that the player themselves aren't doing what they need to do to succeed or be what they were recruited or signed on to do. It might not actually be the environment they get brought into. I mean, it's just like with a college kid, right? Like, the college, we see it all the time with the transfer portal. They made the wrong decision and went to the wrong organization, and either they're not getting playing time, they're not getting developed the way they like to, or their position coach they have an issue with, right? We see it all the time, and that's okay. But for some reason, when you turn a professional, those, development and mental health and the personalities of the people you're around don't matter anymore. Now it's just produce, shut up, and dribble. So, I mean, I don't know. That's my take on it. I think it speaks to a bigger issue than just, what do you define bust as? Because I don't know anyone that knows the situation well enough that would say Kwame Brown is a bust.
JT, are you a Jordan or a LeBron guy?
Jordan. Well,
okay.
So, like, I didn't. We're the same age, so I didn't really get to see much of Jordan. But I was always a Kobe guy growing up, so I despised LeBron for about the first probably like 6 to 7 years of his career before I finally gave in. Actually, it was probably longer than that. It was probably like 10 years before I finally was like, this dude's pretty good. So I hated on him for a while, so I would pick Jordan over him.
Let's talk about this since we're on basketball, because I haven't talked to anybody about it yet. I saw it was the rundown or like a clip somewhere, and I believe Dave Portnoy said that if and I just want to know your guys' thoughts because I've thought about it but haven't really heard any other sides. If LeBron doesn't win the title this year, does it kind of invalidate the title that they won last year, knowing that they didn't have to go on the road to play anybody and that it was all just kind of like a neutral bubble? What's your guys' takes on that?
I think that all of the championships from last year in every sport are going to kind of be invalidated. Okay. Like, because the Lightning won in hockey, and they've never won anything. Like Stamkos and all those other guys, like they were always thought of as playoff busts. And then like LeBron, like you had an easy path. You didn't have to go on the road. You didn't have fans. I think that's when you look back at it like 10 years down the road, you're probably not going to remember that like when you see, LeBron won the championship in 2020, that's just another title added to the list. But I think anybody who really tries to break it down, I think that should be kind of invalidated.
Yeah, I mean, that's good points. I think I don't know that I would invalidate it because you still got to win the games. I mean, I think there'll be an asterisk for sure. I would actually say that this year's I feel like losing this year does more damage than winning last year does positivity, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like to me, and you could debate this all day long, but like LeBron has always had an easier path, right, in terms of who he has to go through. So, we sit there and we talk about, LeBron when he was with the Cavaliers and the Heat. The Heat's always, or the East has been trash for several decades now. I mean, yeah, they had the three amigos in Boston that they had to go through, and there were some decent teams, but the talent was in the West. And then LeBron finally goes to the West, and it seems like all the talent from the West goes back East. And you got it at Brooklyn and Philly and some in Cleveland and Charlotte. I mean, it now seems like there's more talent in the East than there is in the West. And I know many people could argue that and say there's more talent in the Utah Jazz than there is in the bottom half of the Eastern Conference, but they're all young and remotely unproven role players right now, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, I mean, I know he was hurt this year, and I know that there had a lot going on with AD and all that stuff, but I actually think it was easier to win last year because you didn't have to go anywhere. You didn't have to travel. You didn't have to have jet lag. You didn't have to worry about back-to-back fatigue and, playing 5 games in 10 days. You didn't have to worry about all that because you were just there. And, once you got done with the game, you were in your hotel. And if you weren't in your hotel, you were practicing or playing. Now they actually have to travel and do all that stuff. So I think it would actually mean more to win this year than last year. But I think that by not winning this year, it does more negative than last year's championship did positive.
Okay. I can agree with that. Actually, I see where you're coming from. And just to give LeBron a little credit here, I also, in my opinion, I'm not a big basketball guy, but I also don't think it's a coincidence either that as soon as LeBron goes to the West, all of a sudden everybody wants to go to the East. I also will give him a tad bit of credit there because he was like, okay, I'm going to come over to the West. Let's do this. And then all of a sudden you see not all of them, but a lot of the big time stars go over to the East. So I don't know.
Yeah, that is definitely – everybody's going to try to avoid him for as long as possible. So, I mean, that is – with him being the greatest right now, they're going to try to do that.
So we got a little bit of fan interaction right here. My friend Brooke, she says, Kobe always.
I've got at least 2 pairs of Kobe's in this room somewhere.
Yeah. The thing I'll say about Kobe is exactly what Kobe said about himself. Without Michael, there's no Kobe because he emulated so much of what Jordan did in his own game. Like he saw, because you got to remember at that point there was no LeBron, there was Jordan and everyone else, and Kobe. I can't with her; she's ridiculous. Kobe decided, hey, I'm going to be the best there was, and how do I do that? And he will tell you, I mean, there's been so many interviews that document this. He modeled everything, and the words have came out of his mouth. Without MJ, there's no Kobe. So I don't think, and it doesn't mean that Kobe's not a great player, but when you tell me that you modeled your game after somebody else because he was the tier, that instantly puts you below him for me.
Yeah.
Like, just personally. Now, Kobe was a great player. Personally, I would choose Kobe over LeBron. Just being completely honest, I would choose Kobe over LeBron all day, every day. So for me, like, if you asked me of those three, how would I rank them? It would be MJ, Kobe, and then LeBron.
Yeah. See, I don't even say this necessarily to be different and like cause an argument or a stir, but I've said this for a while. I have a hard time not, and I know it's different eras, but I have a hard time not thinking that Magic Johnson isn't the best basketball player ever. I mean, he played, he won 5 titles. I don't know if they were in a row or what order they were in. He played almost every single position on the court. Again, there wasn't a big 3-point shooting presence back then and things like that. But I would literally sit down with somebody that has a better basketball knowledge than me and listen to somebody argue how Magic Johnson could be considered the GOAT. But I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, even though he's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still definitely think he's top 5 because you're right. Just all of the things that he could do during that time, like, it's hard to talk about any sport and really compare the decades because, I mean, everybody is bigger, faster, stronger right now than they were back in the 90s, 80s, 70s. Go back to any time period. Just they're not the same type of athlete. So I think you have to break it down pretty much by era. You could go by decade by decade and just pick best players through that.
And I think that's where we get this idea of this Mount Rushmore, right? Like, we're taking the greatest eras of basketball and trying to pick the best players out of it. But I also think that what people don't understand, or maybe it's not that they don't understand, I just don't think it's brought up a whole lot, is that any one of these players' games translates to the eras before and after them. Like, you're not going to tell me that Prime Jordan in a freedom of motion NBA that we play in today wouldn't have averaged probably 8 to 12 more points a game.
Yeah, he would have
probably 6,000 to 7,000 more points in his career. But you also aren't going to tell me that if you put LeBron in MJ's era, he wouldn't be doing exactly what he's doing now, because the dude is a physical freak. Yeah. Don't give me this. He can't handle the contact. And I know there's a lot to be said about my eye. But think about like the era he was brought up in. Like, people forget that these people were like, at some point we were all kids, right? That childhood and what you went through mold who you are. And LeBron has always been a drama queen. LeBron has always been that way. And that's just the way the NBA is now. I mean, you watch professional soccer and you see flopping and you see crying and you see all this stuff to get a call. And then I go out and I referee high school games. Or not referee, I announce high school games and travel games. And the kids are doing the exact same thing. So I don't know that LeBron is necessarily a drama queen as much as he's just doing what the league calls for him to do. If you drop him into 80s and 90s NBA, he probably doesn't flop. He probably uses his physical force and beats people down. I don't think right now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think MJ could guard LeBron. But I also don't think LeBron could guard MJ. So
yeah. I'm with you. And I mean, just listening to what you're saying, I mean, I know like people hate it, but I also think LeBron made that a part of the game. Like, he just take the West Virginia Mountaineers, for example. A big part of their game is to try to slide in and create a dramatic charge where they fly back and they call a charge and we get the ball back. Like, and that's a small sample size because I watch them every single game that they're on, but he has legitimately, whether you like it or not, integrated that into basketball and I guess even soccer, like you're saying. So, I mean, it's how sports evolve. If the dramatics don't get better and the conflicts don't get better, then how are you going to bring more people to watch the game? So, I mean, I'll give LeBron that token too.
Yeah. So I was in the chat here asking Brooke, how dare you comment multiple times and not tell us what you're drinking on Friday night. And I almost would rather go back to before she told me, because this is what I got. So Big Ugly is a local brewery. They're one of my sponsors, and one beer on a Friday night, and she's back home. That's I don't know what to say to that.
I even just went for dinner and I had a margarita and one other little frozen drink. With how hot it was sitting outside, I had to get some frozen drinks in me. But yeah, it's Friday night. You got to have a couple more than one.
And it's insane to me that 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were still waking up to 27, 33 degree mornings. And now it is 90 degrees outside. It literally went from winter time to summer in a matter of weeks. It's insane.
I don't understand it. This is just crazy. One thing I do know is we need to find a friend with a boat.
Dude. I mean, I've been harping on this forever, and like I know personally that I could never get a boat because I don't know how to drive a boat. Maybe I could get a pontoon one day. Maybe once the truck's paid off, I'll hook it on the back and we'll head to a lake. But people don't realize that if you have a friend that has a boat, your life is better than somebody not having a boat.
But if you are that friend that has the boat, your life is worse. No, I don't know anyone that owns a boat that likes owning a boat when it's not on the water. But boat days are the best days.
Yeah, that's true. But it just feels like I know, like every other friend group, like I just see everybody else going out on boats, and I'm like, I just want to do that once.
Fuck yeah. No, I agree. But also, I hate to be this guy, but I doubt that it's their boat. It's somebody else's in the family's boat. I'd rather get on a boat where I know one of my friends put their blood, sweat, and tears into owning that bitch. So when I get drunk and pee and throw up all over it, I don't feel bad.
So we're all boat people. What's our go-to water sport?
I'll be completely honest with you. That stuff terrifies me, but I'll get on the back and tube maybe 1 or 2 times. I just hate getting thrown off and skidding across the river. It's not growing up around water. That's one thing that my stomach is never adjusted to, but I would say tubing.
Yeah, if I was to pick something, it would be tubing too, but most likely I'm just going to be the one sitting in the back of the boat laughing at everybody else, having a good time drinking.
It's the best kind of guy, if you ask me.
Yeah. Everybody needs that person to just sit back there and laugh at you the whole time and to just rip you when you get back in the boat, but never actually get on the tube.
Yeah, and they'll be like, well, why don't you get on there? Well, why don't you try? It's like, bro, that's not my role. My role is to sit here and get drunk, and you guys get annoyed that I make fun of you every time you get back on the boat. BJ, did you grow up by water?
Oh, yeah, bro. I'm down here in, I get Virginia Beach.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been around water my whole life. My family's got lake houses at Lake Gaston. Water is something for us. I will say, though, it's probably a large disappointment to a lot of people, but I'm way more of a pool guy than I am a beach guy. The beach
100%.
absolutely bores me.
I don't understand people that – so, I mean, Jerry, you beach guy or you a pool guy?
No, I wasn't going to jump in. I was going to let you keep going and then see what I had to say.
Okay, because I don't understand it whatsoever because, like, it's hot – like you just sit in the sand and bake. Like, so if I had friends that I went to the beach with and we had like a football and like we were like playing some touch football or something, or I don't know, just had any of the games, like if you took cornhole out there or any sort of drinking game that you can sit out there with, I'd be fine. But every time I've ever gone to the beach, it's with family and they just go out there for like 6 or 7 hours and sit in the sun. And I'm like, I can't do it. I get bored.
Well, so for me, the beach has evolved as we've gotten older. So now that me and my brother can drink, our family's kind of evolved our beach campouts, I guess you could say. So we hit like, we'll put a canopy up, we'll have some chairs in the front, but we bring a what the fuck's it called? Like a wagon, and we have the cooler and everything set in there. So we kind of make it to where, like, me personally, I'm the guy that you'd get annoyed with, because I just I plot my chair right along the waves to where I'm not getting hit hard enough. I could sit there for hours, dude. I think the older that I've gotten, the reason that I enjoy that the most is I can 100% see how people get bored doing that. But I also treat it as like a mental relaxation type deal. Like, there's nothing better than just sitting there with like a nice drink in your hand, maybe a nicotine pouch or whatever you want, and just listen to the waves coming back and forth. Because then, like, my mind's crazy, but I sit there and I'm like, we don't even know what's out there, bro. Like, there could be a whole nother world underwater, a whole nother organization out there that just roams the water. And I will just appreciate the fact that I can sit here and get fucked up while I watch it. And Shark Week screwed me up, boys.
Yeah, totally.
See, my only thing with that is, like, I'm with JT. Like, I can beach for a little bit if there's activities, right? I can't sit at the beach all day. After about an hour, maybe 2, depending on the group, I've already thrown the football. I've already played some spike ball. I've already had 6 or 7 cold ones. I've already gotten the sand off my body in the water just to get it right back on me when I come out of the water, standing in people's piss out there. Like, once I've done that for about an hour, hour and a half, I'm like, all right, now what? Like, we're going to go do something else, right?
Yeah.
And with the pool, like, you've got your house right there. Someone's house. You can take an Xbox break. You can take a nap. You take a nap at the beach, you'll die. Like, you will die.
No, I agree. And I'm kind of switching. I don't want to say I'm switching my stance, but I get what you guys are saying. Like, I have to have a pool at my house as well, or like a hot tub, to where for me, the reason I like the beach is because you go set up camp and then it's your choice. If you want to go sit on the beach all day, go sit on the beach all day. If you want to walk back and forth, pool beach, whatever you want to do. I've learned that over time, I'm better looking when I'm tan. And the only way for me to get tan is to sit there and let that sun hit me and the sun radiate off the ocean.
Yeah. But one thing you said earlier, I totally agree with you with sitting there and watching the waves. But I've always been the person at the beach that I'm up at 6 a.m. I see the sunrise and I just sit, because we usually have a deck. We're usually oceanfront there, wherever we stay at. And you can just watch the waves come in there. And I'll sit out there, drink my coffee for about hour and a half.
It's the best.
And that's my favorite part of the whole trip, is just waking up and sitting out by the waves.
Yeah. So what beach do you guys normally go to, or do you kind of just change it up every once in a while?
So for me, with my family, we always go to the Outer Banks. And then recently, last fall, my parents and I and my sister, we went to Destin, Florida, which is like on the Panhandle part. And that was probably my favorite place that I've ever been to, like beach-wise.
Yeah. So BJ, did you guys grow up going to Virginia Beach all the time, I probably assume, since you lived in that area?
Yeah. So, as is with any state that has a coast, Virginia Beach is the big one, but there's so many other intricate ones. You got Chicks Beach, you got Sandbridge, you got Buckrow Beach, Fort Story. There's all kinds of places you can go. My favorite was actually Buckrow Beach, which not a lot of people have heard of, but it's kind of like, it's a lot like American Pie 2, where they take the group trip. And it's like, it's a beach, but it's not really a beach. But there's like water sport rentals and ice cream shops. And there's not a whole bunch of people there, but the people that are there because they know it's there. That's what Buckrow Beach was. It's its own little community. And like, if you don't know it, you've never been. And if you know it, you don't go anywhere else.
So can we all agree or disagree that I think beach towns / lake towns, vibe-wise, are probably the best place to live, in my opinion? I mean, it's like there's something about when you live, like I lived in the Outer Banks for probably 3 months right after college. And I thought the best part about it is that beach time is a legitimate thing. Like, it's like nobody's really up in an uproar. Like, in a bad mood, trying to rush around. It's something about the waves or the water or having that constant breeze when you're at the beach that I just think really just turns on some kind of brain thing that maybe somebody that lives in a big city or even a rural area doesn't really experience unless they're there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
100%.
Can you imagine being in a beach town that was also a college town with a competitive athletic program? My gosh.
I could not.
All right. So that's basically, I mean, Coastal Carolina has all that except for being competitive.
Yeah.
Whoa,
I mean, I'm trying to think, like, even Florida Gulf Coast.
This year they were, but overall, can you imagine throwing Morgantown on a beach?
No, because I can honestly believe that if that was the case, probably wouldn't have as many friends as I do now because they would just drown out in the ocean or get eaten by a shark or something like that.
Yeah. Let's backtrack a little bit to Coastal Carolina. Can you imagine being in a beach town and having a mascot that lives in a chicken coop?
I didn't even know that was the case. That's so funny.
Like, they're the Chanticleers, which, by the way, is after, a lot of people don't know this. Y'all probably do as sports fans, but that's off of Geoffrey Chaucer's Chaucer Tales. I'm pretty sure it's from the Parsoners story.
And
it's also off of that same story as a movie we probably all watched as a young kid, Rock-a-Doodle-Doo. Y'all remember that?
No.
No.
Rock-a-Doodle-Doo was a cartoon, was an animated movie about this like Elvis like rooster.
Okay.
But his name was Chanticleer. And if you like read the story, if you watch the movie and then go read the Canterbury Tales, it all follows the same thing. It's pretty crazy.
Hell yeah. Well, I want to go ahead and shoot you guys a compliment and everything before I go because I got to start getting everything ready. I tell you guys this off air, but I just want people to hear it on air as well. I think your guys' chemistry is fascinating to me because once I learned from JT that you guys really didn't know each other very well, like you guys like weren't friends in the beginning and everything like that. It fascinates me that you guys are able to do what you do. So I just want to say shout out to you guys. And I'm looking forward to hopping on next week and just keep it going, man. You guys are crushing it.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. And anybody who's on here that hasn't yet, go check out the Juicebox Pod. They're recording tonight, and that'll be out Sunday. It usually comes out like 5:30, right?
Right around 5. Big announcement. Make sure you tune in. Love you guys.
Yeah. Good stuff going on. Talk to you later, man.
Bye.
I'm mad we didn't get to our Celine Dion debate.
Yeah, we're going to have to ask him about that to begin because I'm very intrigued on what this is going to be because I have not heard any Celine Dion news this week.
So, well, did you check the group text would be the first question.
Well, that's the thing is like, so I saw it, but at the time that I saw it, there was about 35 text messages. So I did not go back and look at all of them.
Yeah, so the statement that he made was, if it's not for Titanic, do we even know who Celine Dion is?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know how many Celine Dion Celine Dion music selections I could name right now.
I think the problem is that you know songs of hers, you just don't know it's hers.
Well, that's how I am with all musicians. I do not know the names of songs and who sings them whatsoever.
So he makes a good point that, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion from Titanic is probably her most known song. But of the 15 Billboard Hot 100 hits that she has, that song spent the least amount of time in the charts.
Really?
Like she's got, so she had her number one song of all time is Because You Loved Me. And it spent 6 weeks at number one on the Billboard Hot 100. And
that's
then
insane.
She has another one that's It's All Coming Back to Me Now. The Power of Love. You probably know this one. This one spent 6 weeks in the late 90s atop the number one charts. I'm Your Angel with R. Kelly.
Okay. Yeah, that does ring a bell now.
That was Celine Dion. That's the Way It Is, If You Ask Me To. She actually did the Beauty and the Beast song. The original. It was Celine Dion and Piabo Bryson.
I am just learning that I need to respect Celine Dion more.
That's what I'm saying. She has so many bangers. I just think that people don't know that it's her singing.
What are some other people that you would consider on that list of like they don't get enough respect? Anybody else that bring to mind?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of people get credit because they like. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I feel like a lot of people think Bruce Springsteen's songs, or think songs are by Bruce Springsteen that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that takes away from a lot of people.
He was just a really good cover band.
He was, yeah. But like, like you'll hear songs in like Fast Car by Tracy Chapman.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think that I've met multiple people that think that that's Bruce Springsteen. Like, and it's not. A lot of people think that there's a lot of, they confuse Huey Lewis and the News with Bruce Springsteen.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. Like it's just, there's a lot there that like they sing songs, but you don't know who it is that's singing it, but you know the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were some other topics you had? You said you had a couple.
Well, for anybody that watches baseball, I'd be yeah, you guys have a softball game again. Where's your sister at that was here last week?
She's downstairs. Let me see if I can get her to hop on.
I'd be interested to hear, because I mean she's a softball player. I want to know I just want to hear everybody's thoughts. You and I have talked about Tony La Russa and how much of a jerk he is, and how much anybody who wants a shirt made that says "Fire Tony La Russa," if you feel as passionate as me about it, I will sell you a T-shirt right now. I will go personally make it with my hands. But for anybody that didn't catch it, he pretty much just let his rookie hang out to dry after hitting a 3-0 home run in the 9th inning. Basically said that he was totally in the wrong, and then gets thrown at the next day. And then La Russa comes out again and says that he respects the pitcher for hitting him. And then did you hear, I don't think you and I have talked about this, but then the Lance Lynn thing after it?
Refresh me. I feel like I had seen it, but...
So Lance Lynn is a pitcher for the White Sox. And he basically...
Oh, is this where Tony La Russa said he has a locker, I have an office?
Yeah. Like, if those players just don't show up, I think I tweeted this out. If the players just don't show up for a game, like, let's see how much your office means to, like, the league when there's no players to put out on the field. Like to basically tell your player to keep your mouth shut that you don't have an office and I do, like that is the most old man, like grumpy, get off my lawn statement.
Absolutely.
He drives me insane.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, like he didn't used to be that way. Like, and maybe he did, and we just didn't see it because he was winning championships and competing with the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. But like Cardinals fans loved Tony La Russa, absolutely loved him. And I think really what it comes down to, you and I have touched on this a little bit, and I've talked with some other, professional players that live in the area because, we're here with the Norfolk Tides. Mm-hmm. And I think the common theme is he is not adjusting well to not having authority.
Yeah.
Like he's in an advisory role. We're going to welcome back Kels Milner here. Her presence was requested and she responded like a witch out of thin air.
You're so excited to be back, right?
Yeah.
All right, JT, you take it away, Kels. First of all, what are we drinking tonight?
I'll be back.
Oh, she'll be back.
I didn't have one.
So, gotta have a drink on this show. That is the one rule moving forward, that everybody has to have a drink to be able to enter the chat.
Absolutely. Or at least something worth talking about having drank before.
Yeah.
I hear my ice maker going, so she's got to be. Let me mute this girl. But yeah, I mean, I think that's really because people don't understand that, like, it's not even a topic. But Brooke is a Cubs fan, by the way. That's why she's saying "ooh, Cardinals."
Okay.
But she was not a baseball fan when Tony La Russa was there, so that doesn't count.
Was she a Cubs fan after they won the World Series or before?
She was a Cubs fan. I would say, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt and say 5 years before they won the World Series. I know she took a very impactful trip as a tourist to Chicago and just absolutely went and saw a Cubs game, I believe.
I will tell you, if you've never been to Chicago, go, because I would agree that being in Chicago completely changes everything.
And there's the confirmation right there. So yeah, so it was definitely before they won their World Series. She is not a bandwagon Cubby, but she knows well enough to know that if you're a Cubs fan and you hear the word St. Louis Cardinals, you say apparently L, because that's what she said. But Kelsey, JT had a question and wanted to get your opinion on something. So JT, take it away.
Okay. So did you see all the Tony La Russa stuff with how bad of a manager he is?
No, I haven't seen. So it's been a rough week for me, so I haven't really been on social media and everything this week. So apparently I'm
well, so a guy hit. What were the White Sox up? 15-4.
It was 15-4, and they had pulled their shortstop in to pitch.
Yep.
And a rookie was up to bat for the White Sox. And the dude threw him a 47-mile-an-hour pitch on a 3-0 count. Dude swung and yammed it.
Yeah.
And the team celebrated.
Yeah, saw that.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about. Did you see what Tony La Russa said about him afterwards?
No, I did not.
Take it away, JD.
He basically said that he can't believe that that guy would do that. He was totally in the wrong. He apologized to the Twins, said that he was going to have to sit down and have a big talk with him about how we go about things. Basically said that it was the unwritten rules of baseball that you don't do that. And then so I don't understand, because I would understand if a pitcher was still in the game, but if you pull your shortstop in and just basically have given up, then the guy should be able to tee off on you.
Yes.
And there's one more caveat before you answer, because what we really want to know is, as someone who played a high level of collegiate ball, we want to know how you would react if your coach did this to you. So there's the background. That's what happened. The very next day, the Twins threw behind the batter that hit the home run when they were up 15-4. Right?
Okay.
And Tony La Russa, who is in an advisory role, not even a coach, he's in an advisory role for the White Sox. Okay. After the game, he was asked, how do you feel about it? And he said, I understood it. It was well-deserved, and I respect the decision to throw behind him. Talking about his player being thrown behind. So, yeah. So not only did he come out after it happened and condemn the kid for hitting a shot and for telling him he doesn't understand the unwritten rules of baseball and he'll be handled and dealt with, the next day when he got thrown at, the same coach took up for the team that threw at the player.
See, even if you have your personal opinions, you're still representing that program and all that. You can't that's kind of downgrading and talking down on your team, your program, and everything about that. Even if you have your own personal opinion, I still wouldn't say that's he deserved it, or I respect that, or it was deserved, or anything like that.
Yeah. So then another player came out for the White Sox and said, I don't understand what these unwritten rules are, yada, yada, yada. I would have done the same, basically sticking up for his player because the only other coach in the media wasn't. And so then they asked Tony La Russa what his reaction was to Lance Lynn saying what he said, sticking up for his rookie player. And Tony La Russa's response was, Lance has a locker. I have an office. You figure it out.
Oh my God.
This guy is 75 years old. He has no idea what's going on anymore. I can't stand the guy.
So my question, I now that Kelsey's here, I have a question. So imagine you are, let's say, a freshman. Okay, let's say that you are a highly touted freshman, like this dude was a highly touted rookie. Okay, and you do something like that, right? Of course, softball's a little different, but yeah, let's say that y'all are run ruling a team, and they throw in their shortstop. Same scenario.
Yeah.
and that coach just rips you a new one while your team celebrate. No one else feels this way. It's just the coach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you staying with that program? Are you going to consider staying with that program?
No, especially even after like the next game where they threw at him and again he downgraded him or degraded him by talking to him like that and saying that he deserved it. It was like that. That's even more pushing me away to not even wanting to represent the program.
Mm-hmm.
Be a part of something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Jake,
especially.
Go ahead, bud.
I was gonna say, especially like he's 21 years old, so like being a freshman like that is a good translation. Like, why would you want any part of that? Like, that is completely destroying your. And to not only do it, if it was behind closed doors, if this all happened behind the scenes, where he went up to the guy and said, "Hey, you're in the wrong," and then the next day after he got hit, if he went up to him and said, "Hey, like you did what you did, they retaliated," like. I think all of it would have been fine if it's behind closed doors and like it was a teaching moment.
Exactly.
But to take it to the media, that's the part that you lose me, and you just aren't in touch with your players.
No, it's disrespectful too. Like.
Mm-hmm.
So let's ask a bigger question. Why is Tony La Russa being interviewed at all? Why? Name me one other advisor in the major leagues that gets interviewed before and after every game.
Yeah, I don't. So, are we sure that he's not the manager?
I don't think that he's the head coach. I don't think he's the skipper.
I thought he was. So that's the one part that I wanted to look at.
Okay, I might be.
I don't know. When I think of like this scenario, I just think of like when Freddie and Rizzo were throwing, like when Rizzo was pitching and Freddie was up there and he struck him out or whatever. Freddie was swinging for the fences. Like he was trying. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like friendly competition. Right? Like,
yeah. Well, hold on. When is this? Oh, this was October. What I'm trying to figure out and look.
So I think Renteria got fired last year. I think this is La Russa's first year as the manager.
He's doing a stand-up job.
Yeah, he's not going to be around for.
He wasn't the manager last year, was he?
No, Renteria was the manager last year.
Okay, well then I've been saying a lot of things wrong then.
Because I think La Russa, I think he was in an advisory role. And then when Renteria got fired last year, he got moved into the manager role.
He is the manager. Oh, he got a DUI in October. That's right. What's coming back to me?
Because I saw a funny joke that said that's not the only time he mishandled a Mercedes. Because the guy's last name is Mercedes.
Oh wow! Wow. Do we have any more baseball questions for Kelsey?
That's all that I had. That's the one that really got me fired up for the week.
We can talk about the walk-off home run from
Wait,
by Ronald Acuna.
Yes,
wasn't that his first career?
Yeah, he said it's over.
That's really his first one. I would have expected him to have one before that.
As hot as he's been, like in the career he's been having, like I was very shook too.
I have a future on him to win the MVP just because I like the first 2 weeks of the season he was on fire, so I just threw some money on him.
The league MVP or his division MVP?
No, the NL MVP.
NL, okay, but not like the MLB MVP.
Because they do two separate ones. They do AL and NL.
Yeah, I'm transitioning. Like 2 years ago was the first year I started seriously following baseball. Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, you know enough about it to watch it and understand what's going on, but there's so many different nuances.
Yeah,
of all that stuff.
I have to interrupt you quick to ask you a question. What in the world are you doing down there?
Me?
Yeah.
Playing with Lola.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can turn the camera around. Lola. Oh, nope, that just turned it off. How do you turn the camera off? Hold on. Lola.
So, hold on. Wait a minute. Is that one of the flowers from our centerpiece?
No.
Wait, is my wife is down there with you?
Yes.
See, this is where there's a double standard. If I was sitting down there doing that, I'd have been slapped 18 times and twice on Sunday.
Look, the cat's trying to play with it now.
Jeez,
Sit back,
about to
sorry.
kick you both out.
Oh,
All right. Well, thanks for joining, Kels. Appreciate your insight. We'll see you in a little bit.
Bye.
Well, that was Kelsey with a very interesting into her segment here.
we might have to end this a little early because I am dying in this room.
You look extremely hot.
Yeah, so the deal with this room, usually I get it here early enough that I can turn the AC on and let it get really cold in this room because, I mean, with how hot it is, it's just, you can't keep up. But because I got here late, I got home with 5 minutes to go and was able to cool it down for about 5 minutes. And then, yeah, it's probably about 85 degrees in this room right now.
All right. Well, we will end it on that then. We don't want you to die of heat exhaustion. So for JT, I'm Brandon Johnson with Sports with BJ. This has been another press break, the offseason. We, of course, want to thank Jerry Nixon Jr. for stopping by the show, the godfather of the Juicebox Pod. Look out for that new episode everywhere you get your podcasts. Sunday at 5 is when they release, and there is a huge announcement.
Yeah,
and
sorry to interrupt you there.
Down to press break, so we're excited. Everyone's excited, but we're not going to spoil their news. We're going to let them produce it to you. So Juicebox Pod, get in there. Listen to it, and we'll see y'all next week for another off-season episode of Freestyle Friday.